What's up, everybody? This is Erica, and I'm back with another episode of I Won't Be Long. And today we're going to be lifting the surface of breaking the cycle, but it's part two. As you can see, I have two very special guests with me today. First, I have my sister, a fellow podcaster, owner of her own jewelry line, all about self-love, my good sis, Rebecca, aka Regal.
What's up, you guys? How's everybody doing?
And I also have my brother. I've known him since my Shaw U days, known him for years. And what I know this brother to do is constantly uplift, constantly work on self-growth, constantly work on making sure that he is having an impact on the youth today. So I want to welcome my brother Ziggy to the podcast.
Appreciate the warm welcome. Glad to be here. And really excited to have some good dialogue with these two great sisters. So thanks for having me, both of y'all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So today is June 17th, but when this podcast gets released, it will be on Juneteenth. So I just want to ask you guys, what are some ways that you think Juneteenth this year? Because I'm seeing a lot of companies acknowledging, I'm seeing a lot of companies, taking the steps to make it an actual paid holiday and acknowledge it as a holiday. So what are some things about Juneteenth this year that you guys feel like makes it different than any other years in the past?
Man, I mean, there's so many different factors that I feel like are playing a part into the changes we're seeing. Of course, the murders that have just been going on rampantly, the fights, the protesting that we've been doing. I think there's just more attention and we're fed up and we're just pushing for all these changes that we've been pushing for. But it's like, look, stop showboating and blowing smoke and give us real change. And we're starting to see that. So I think this is just the tip of the iceberg, but I think that's kind of why it's different, because we're not allowing anything to slide anymore.
I agree. What about you, Ziggy?
Yeah, I totally agree. I have to echo the sentiments of everybody, man. When you look at what's going on, we're in the midst of a perfect storm, right? And so when we look at COVID-19 and what it's done, not only to the U.S., but to our Black and brown communities, and it's not that people are dying as an immediate response to COVID, but it's exposing the lack of resources that have continuously not been in our communities. And so it's truly showing where America has not done her job and really done some injustice to some of these Black and brown communities. The other thing too, with that being said, is that we do know that a lot of our Black brothers and sisters are the ones on the front lines because we work jobs that we don't have PTO, and that we have to be essential workers. So the majority of us are essential workers, and that's a part of the reason why we're dying. And so with that being said, we're out of work, we're sitting in the house, our grandparents are dying, and we got time. We got time today. And so as we see these things happening, we're able to fully focus our energy towards the movement because the world is pretty much stopped. And so it's been very interesting to see, Erica. We've been out there on the front lines, doing our thing. And, I will say, like, it's such a beautiful time to be alive, man. It's a great thing. My biggest thing is as we look down the road, right, 50 years from now, this is going to be in somebody's textbook. And, which side of history are you going to be on?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very well put. Are there any things that you guys have in particular, or any ways that you guys have in particular that you're looking to celebrate Juneteenth this year?
Good one. I just really I feel like there's just been so much turmoil, so much stress. I really just want to celebrate this moment in time. This is like, it's a time to be Black. Like we,
absolutely.
Really, like, I feel like we have been fully being Black, but now everybody, let them be Black, let it roll wild. And I just feel like we're just really in the bounds. And I'm just gonna celebrate being a Black woman, shopping Black, buying Black, and being around beautiful Black people, man. I need love right now.
Yeah, that it is a dope thing, and I agree. Like on both ends, it's been life changing, because when you look at it, right, as we were growing up, you're talking about in the '90s. When we grew up in the '90s, you look at it, it was not really cool to be Black. And I say that to say, like, I got two sisters on here rocking natural hair right now. Back in the day, your mama came with that kitty perm.
What?
And, you couldn't go to school. Come on now, you couldn't go to school without the hair being straight.
What? Stay with the relaxer.
It's just a beautiful thing to see us evolve, you know, and I think social media had to give a lot of props to that, right? Because even though I went to a HBCU and I didn't know nothing about Juneteenth until the last couple of years, I started seeing posts on social media. I'm like, dang, when I read up on it, I'm like, oh my God, like, are you serious? Like, the significance of the holiday itself is that, hey, you know, once again, we were freed through the legislation that was passed, but at the same time, it took us 2 years to actually enforce that.
Right.
And so when we look at that, you know, the plight of our ancestors, man, like we owe them a lot. And, you know what I'm saying, we owe them by paying homage and bringing, you know what I'm saying, awareness to this holiday. So whether you taking off work, you know, taking a vacation day, going to celebrate with the homies, you know, just do as much Black stuff as you can. Like Sis said, buy Black, be around your people, take care of yourself. And then also, you know what I'm saying, this is not a time to bash others for not knowing about Juneteenth. Don't come with all the posts talking about something. I don't know why y'all posting now. We're posting. And so, you know what I'm saying, you got to celebrate people as they get there, man. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. I look forward to celebrating Juneteenth.
I agree. I think that, and I agree with you, Ziggy. I don't think I learned about Juneteenth until maybe like 2 or 3 years ago either. So knowing about it, it makes you honestly want to do away with the whole idea that July 4th is Independence Day and celebrate your real independence. So it makes that day much more monumental to me. So to be around my people, family, friends, and again, to be in this day and age where all of these Black businesses are booming right now, and it's so many Black businesses that are actually getting the attention and acknowledgement that they deserved a long time ago. It's so many ways that we can celebrate Juneteenth, and I plan on participating in every single one of them this year and every year moving forward, for sure. So again, this episode is going to be about breaking the cycle. And when we talk about breaking the cycle, a generational cycle, there's a few different ways you can look at it. You could go over, you know, from a wealth aspect, from an educational aspect, poverty, mental health. It's many different ways that you can kind of go down the lines to see like what types of ways that these generations handle these life tests prior to me, and how can I, you know, move forward a different way. So my question for you guys is, what exactly is your interpretation of breaking the cycle?
You want to take that one first?
Regal, look like you got something cooking up over there, man.
A few things. Well, I mean, for me, I've always grown up hearing generational curses, and I love the spin that you put it. It's not a curse, it's a cycle that you need to break. We need to start calling it what it is, because if you feel like you curse, it feels kind of defeated. It's impossible to get over it. This is just what it is. But if it's a cycle, if I can understand how that cycle works, then I can understand how to rework it. So I love that play on words that you did there. And there's just so many. And one that I really kind of took to heart is, growing up, I used to always hear my family say, oh, we got a family full of millionaires. But I'm looking around like, well, we're all broke. Like, what you mean? Like, we're so smart. We're so creative. We got $1 million ideas. We're so talented. But I'm like, but why haven't any of us been successful? So it's the work that we're not doing, you know, succumbing to the stress of the work, and, you know, not knowing how to heal through mental illness and how to truly love yourself. So we self-medicate, you know, and that takes away our time, our money, our finances. And most importantly, we don't educate ourselves to be better, because we wallow in what we never have done for ourselves. And I just think it comes with mental illness, the poverty mindset. I just realized I don't want to be one of those millionaires who just didn't become a millionaire. If I got millionaire ideas and creativity within me, I want that to manifest in a total abundance in my life. So I just decided I got to stop being afraid, because that fear is holding me back, and I got to just keep pushing through it. Every single day it's a struggle, but it took knowing that I was worth the change. I was worth the work, and I was worth sacrificing the things that I felt like I needed to be me, because those things are honestly just holding me back. So I feel like that's the main thing I'm just focusing on: loving myself, making decisions that are going to benefit me, my child, and our community. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Love that. I love that. What about you, Ziggy?
Yeah, that's that's a hard act to follow. But what I will
That
say,
passion, she bringing that passion today.
nah, that's beautiful, man. That's beautiful, man.
Yes.
I think, you know, as you mentioned, one of the big things in our community that's taboo, you know, that we don't talk about is mental health and self-worth, right? And so a lot of things, because the conditions that we're raised, and not saying that every Black person comes from the hood, but inherently, when you look at the struggle of Black people, no matter if you come from the suburbs, the hood, or a rural community, point blank period, you know, we're dealing with different things, you know. The truth is that the majority of our parents weren't married. And that you know, some relinquishes resources from the household, right? You know, the truth is that we look at is that a lot of us are first generation college students if we do go to college. Then the truth is, if we do get there, you know, how do you navigate through that, not having that many people to lean on because they haven't taken that route? And so, even not that I'm saying that college is the only way out, you know what I'm saying? Because of course, as a male, you know, everything was, you know, either you rap, you sell dope, or you go play ball. You know what I'm saying? Those were the three that was put in my face. And so when I look at that, we don't have to limit ourselves to that. You know, that's an opportunity, but you know what I'm saying? Hey, like, you know, LeBron James, like Barack Obama always said, we don't need more LeBron James. We don't need more Lil Waynes, you know what I'm saying? Like, we need more scientists. We need more brothers in STEM. We need more Black girls writing codes. You know, we need people that are engineers. You know, we need nurses and things like that. And so if we make those things accessible and make sure that people can see those, it gives them a way out. Because what we've been forced to think is like, hey, when I was growing up, I only saw like all my cousins sold dope growing up. All of them. I thought that's what you're supposed to do. I told my grandma at 13 years old, she's like, what you want to do when you grow up? I was trying to sell dope. They get money. And, you know, that's what I saw, right? And so when you look at the cycles that we've been put in, when you're poor, it really makes you focus on what's in front of you. You go into survival mode. And so when you default to survival mode, you're not thinking about tomorrow. You're thinking about surviving for today. And so it weighs you down to where I think sometimes when I used to go home and I had graduated from college, you know, I thought I was, I got a degree, you know, and I'm doing my thing, Black brother, you know. And I would go on, I'm having conversations like, why don't they get it? Why don't they get it? They weren't exposed to what you were exposed to.
Right.
And see, they still out there worried about, you know, how they gonna eat tomorrow. She got 3 kids and she on food stamps. And you know what I'm saying? My grandmother, the reality of it is like my grandmother was raising 3 kids on food stamps. She worried about us if we go get a job, if it's gonna throw off the Section 8. Because now she got to report that as income, okay, now you got to quit your job. So it's like it becomes that we focus on this survival mindset and we don't think about the future or tomorrow. And so what we had to do is provide access and opportunity. So one of the things that I've been trying to do is like, you know, reach out to my family first. Like I don't have to, people always think like, you know, if you want to change the world, like you got to like have a big crowd or a follower. And Erica, we had this conversation like, nah, you start in your circle, man. Right. So if you got little cousins, you know, holler and pull them to the side. Hey, cuz, what you trying to do? You know, so I see you like, you know what I'm saying, working on cars and stuff. You ever thought about going the mechanic route in high school? You can start your own business. We can get the paperwork filed. You know, have you talked to that little cousin that does hair? She can braid anything. You know what I'm saying? Have we talked about getting that in the mindset like, hey, you can make a beautiful business out of this and do your thing? And so it's really like when you at Thanksgiving, have a dinner with these kids, man, pour into them. You know, pour into the folks that's around you. And we just got to do what we can within our immediate circles.
Right. Absolutely. I know for me, when I think about just generational cycles, and I would look at my immediate family, and a lot of times, I mean, you see happiness there. You see that they are completely fulfilled with what they have. But and you also look at, you know, there's kind of a ceiling there for, you know, what they feel like, you know, what they feel like they can't achieve, so to speak. So it's like, for me, is looking at that, I had to kind of take a step back and look at it as, is this something that I can see for my life? Is this something that I would be okay with? Do I feel like that this is going to be fulfilling for me? And like you said, Ziggy, going to college kind of, for me, I felt like was one of those key things that got me into a mindset of looking for something on a bigger scale or a bigger picture, because you meet people from all different walks of life. You meet people from all around the world, and you see that there's more to life than just what's been in front of you, or from what's been in front of you. And the people that came before us, our folks, our parents or grandparents, they weren't necessarily afforded those types of opportunities, or they weren't able to take those opportunities. So what they saw is what they kind of succumbed to. So for me, again, looking around me, being able to experience life from college, being able to have an aunt. I was blessed with an aunt who was able to take me traveling and get me outside of my small town where I'm able to see everything from around the world. Is little things like that type of exposure that makes you want more for your life. So for me, breaking the generational cycle was about stepping outside of the box that I had seen so many people before me stay complicit in. So it's really dope to hear both of you guys talk about, you know, just different things that kind of weighed in on that decision to keep moving, to keep going. But what was it specifically that you would say motivated you or inspired you to say, okay, I got to do this different?
All right. So for me, it was the fact that I realized I kind of hit rock bottom in my life. I got to my lowest point. I felt like I was making really bad choices. And I was just like, I am stuck here. It's like every time I thought I was trying to move forward, I kept getting out the back. But ultimately, it made me do a lot of self-reflection. And I realized that I kept making poor decisions for myself because, one, I thought that was all I was worth. You know, I didn't see, like you guys said, beyond the box in the community. I didn't think that I deserved it. And plus, I've never seen it, you know? And it just was like, you can continue to stay in this place, making poor decisions, in this bottomless pit of self-doubt, insecurities, feeling unworthy of love, or you can realize that everything that you need to change your life is within you. And when you're so clouded by your insecurities, you don't believe that you're awesome, that you are talented, that you're creative, that you can do anything to change your life. You just kind of accept it like, well, this is where I'm at. And I just got to a point where I was like, this can't be all that life has for me. You know, like, this just can't be it. And I wasn't willing to accept it. So I just was like, Lord, I don't know how uncomfortable this journey gonna be, but I'm going to find myself. I'm going to learn to love myself, and I'm going to get closer to you. And so through that journey, I've stopped saying God, one, and I just say like the source, because it's the source to all that there is. I realized that power was within me because I'm connected and we're all connected. And it just made me really feel how powerful I was. And if I was able to tell my story and share with others, then maybe one day they can see that within themselves. So like you guys said, it starts with our communities. And I just had to start making the changes that my family could see and see like, well, damn, she used to do this, but now she's actually being productive. She's making things happen in life. I see her stepping outside of her box. She's apologizing more. And they start seeing the change and, well, Amy, how do you do this? I kind of want to know how to do that. And so they start having conversations about self-love and, well, I want to start a career doing this. And it opens up the box when you have people around you who are able to share those experiences with you.
Absolutely. 100% agree. 100% agree. What about you, Ziggy?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think one of the things that both of you have touched on is that it takes a village, right? It takes a village. And I truly believe in that mantra just because, you know, I can look at my past experiences and realize that even though I didn't have, you know, my mother died when I was 15 years old, and I'm going through, as a Black male, the most vulnerable time of my life being in high school, right? She's not around. Then you look at like my father, he was in and out of my life. And I look at my grandmother, who was our primary caregiver. You know, my grandmother stepped in and really raised me and my other two siblings. And so when I look at that, even though I didn't have, you know, there was a village that came provided. And so if I needed a male role model to look up to, I had a plethora of football coaches who took me under their wing and said, you know, hey, son, it's more than life than just what you see here in your hometown. And I really kind of embodied that because I saw the way that they lived. I said, hey, you know, I don't have to live, you know, saying the circumstances are always that I am in right now. And so that was an outlet. When I look at just being that family member to kind of expose you to different stuff, that was my grandmother for me. Like, even though she didn't have a lot of money, she made sure we traveled. Every year she get her income tax. She put some money to the side, and we were going on a vacation somewhere that summer. And so that really, like, as I look back now, I was like, you know, I've been to several countries throughout the world. And that hunger was sparked in me from my grandmother. And so it led to me not being scared to take a chance when I was 18 years old to move 10 hours away to North Carolina to go play football at Shaw University. That was unheard of in my hometown. Secondly, like I was from Ohio, you know, the closest HBCU was what, 6 hours away, and we didn't really know much about HBCU. So now I'm going to an HBCU, being a trailblazer, and making my way down there. You know, I remember my grandmother. Nobody in my family would take me down there. My grandmother said, "Look, we'll load the van up. We'll take you and your friend down there. We drop you off." My grandmother got us down there. She knew her car wasn't gonna make it. Like when they got back, the transmission blew on the car. She knew it was gonna go, but she made sure we got down there, right? And so as I look back on those things, those moments, right, that got me through college, that got me, you know what I'm saying, to be able to go ahead and receive a master's degree. Because at first I thought, you know, I wasn't worth that. I wasn't worthy of it. Because, you know, I remember growing up in grade school, they asked what you want to be. If you black, you damn sure better not say you want to be the president of the United States.
Man, what about
that wasn't even thought of? Come on now. And now we live, and we just had the first black president of these United States circulate through 2 terms, not one, but 2 terms.
2 terms.
And we did it flawlessly, you know, no scandals. And so when you look at that, it's like, now the torch is on us now. We're at that age, we are that generation where we got to go back and we got to pour back into people. And so it's really a beautiful space to be in right now. I embrace it, I enjoy it. And I'm also candid with people, man. Like, I'm not perfect. I'm not just always gonna post the success stories. Like, I will be transparent. And it was some long nights, it was some early mornings, it was some days we had to go without. It was some, you know, trying to figure it out, trying to put a meal together. And so just letting people know that they can and they will, you know what I'm saying? It's a beautiful thing, man.
Absolutely. So I just got the update that we're running a little low on time. So I'm gonna ask this last question, and then we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. So out of everything that you guys have experienced, that you witnessed, that's motivated and inspired you to, you know, take the steps and make the marks that you're making and breaking those cycles, what are some ways that you are consciously and intentionally making the efforts for the next generation to kind of follow in those footsteps of not you know, staying in those same cycles, or to break those cycles as well?
Man, one, like you guys have said, having those conversations at any possible chance, letting them know that they can own their own business, they can create and invent anything that they want, they can help people, they can be doctors. Like, just having those conversations. I think we saw that a lot growing up in the TV shows that we saw. You know, we may not have saw it in our communities, but the media that we were watching growing up, like, we seen judges and lawyers and business owners. And I think that's been stripped away from our children. You know, they just see regular people doing regular things on YouTube, you know, and it's like, that's cool. There's more for you. So doing that, and one, being an example myself, making sure that I'm walking in my truth, living out loud, being unapologetic about it, loving myself so that they can see it, and making sure I stay focused on my purpose, staying focused on my podcast, creating businesses that will eventually educate and entertain our people and advance our people too. So, and it's all about educating yourself, always never being content with the level you're currently on. There's always something more for you.
Agreed. Beautifully said. Ziggy?
I was on a webinar last night with some of my fraternity brothers, and so they did a town hall meeting. And it was really refreshing to see it, because it kind of really like made me go back to my why. And you know, when I'm working with students, I work in higher education, so I deal with students on a day-to-day basis. And so I'm always asking them, what's your why? You know, when I'm going to college, I'm majoring this because I know they're gonna make money. What's your why? Because everybody can make money and you can get the money, but are you really gonna be passionate about it? And I believe that I've heard y'all stories in the past. You know, you talked about working at a place where you felt like you were tolerated instead of included. You know, it can be mentally draining going into a place like that, and it's not a good place to be in. So I always encourage people to find a way to make money while pursuing your passion. And so whatever route you have to do that. What I was inspired by was just, you know, the different brothers that were on the call. It was just funny to see, like, dang, like all these brothers are alpha men, and it's crazy, you know, because it's like the mayor of Houston was going hard for our people right now, making sure they get the resources, and is advocating to reallocate funds from the police department into the communities. You know, he even said he still lives in the same community that he came up in. And so for him to really see that change, to see some of the congressmen that are telling us what they're fighting against every day with the Republican-led Senate. To hear from Dr. William Barber, who was a civil rights activist and a legend in the game right now. Got the Poor People's Campaign coming up on June 20th. So it's going to be a virtual campaign this weekend, June 2020. So make sure y'all follow that movement too as well. Tune in. But
Definitely.
definitely. But to see these men in different areas, we even had the brother Hill Harper on the call talking about what he's doing on the street level in Detroit.
Nice.
Martin Luther King said it. He said, for us to make this movement successful, we've got to support the 4 pillars of our community. Number 1, our HBCUs. Number 2, our professional working groups. Number 3, our fraternities and sororities that are Black. And then 4, we have to support the Black church. As we look at it, strategically, find a way to support one of these institutions. We talk about the Black Lives Matter movement. If you can, give your funds. If you can't, go out and protest. If you're not able to go protest, find another way to allocate resources by using your social media platform, right? When we look at our HBCUs, if you didn't go to one, it's cool, but adopt one in the area and allocate some funds to those children that's coming up behind. When we look at our professional groups, we've got to leverage the infrastructure that we have in these groups to move forward and be successful. And so I think that's very, very important. As I move through life, for me, race is so important because this country was founded on it, right? And so being Black, we have to stay vigilant, we have to stay woke, and we have to stay ready. And we got to move with a strategic plan. And so as you pour into your community, make sure that you either, the ones that become behind us, they're aware of these institutions, right? As they're in the streets and things like that, And so it's just a beautiful thing, point blank period, that what I'm seeing right now. And then my last thing for everyone is just, bet on self. A lot of times we sit around and we wait and let somebody else do it. And they may not even be as talented as you are, but they did it.
Say that.
You got to bet on yourself, and you got to move forward, and you got to do what your calling is, because the later you wait, the less effective you can be. And so just bet on yourself.
100% of the time.
Agree. Very well said, my brother. I appreciate that. And I appreciate both of you guys for just taking some time out and lending your voices to the podcast today. I think that is very important, especially within our community, that our voices, our stories, our, the challenges, the ups and downs are shared, because it's always funny, but everybody kind of goes through the same types of obstacles. So when we hear someone share a story or share, some inspiration, some motivation, those could be the same people that you're sharing those stories with are the same people that may be or may have been in your shoes, or may have felt that they couldn't get out of it. They were stuck. They didn't see a step above where they are moving forward. And you guys sharing where you are, where you've been, help the next person. So again, I appreciate that. And as far as just generational cycles, it's beautiful to see that we've been able to look around and see what, being knocked down and staying down looks like. We've been able to see what being good enough looks like. And we've made our minds up that that's just not enough for us. So again, I appreciate you guys' minds. I appreciate you guys' drives and ambition and your motivation and will to keep going. And I also appreciate you guys' devotion and commitment to impact the next generations coming after us. Thank you so much again for blessing my podcast today. Thank you again, listeners, for joining us today. Again, this is Erica, and if I can help it, we won't be long.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you for the safe space.
Absolutely.